Hello, welcome everyone to day 19 minutes of mindfulness meditation. Let's continue on from where we were yesterday. So find yourself in a comfortable seated position, or you can, when I say seated, hopefully you guys have been joining me here for a while. Any position where you can begin to find stillness, where you can sit for these upcoming minutes. And I just want to pause for a second because we're getting really close to that point where we're making a new habit. So if you've been joining thus far every day, either live or in the recording, it's getting pretty exciting because when we reflect back on what we thought we would accomplish at the beginning 19 days ago and where we are today, it's reminding ourselves to take notice, essentially, of the progress that we're already making, the effects that this showing up is already having on our daily living. So, sitting for almost 20 minutes is a challenge sometimes. So congratulations on getting to this point. And we were talking about yesterday about how the five senses help bring in information, which helps create what we know to be our own individual reality. And we were working a little bit yesterday with taking the eyes offline so that we could see the effects or feel the enhancement of our other senses. So we're going to continue on with that today. And we're going to continue on by blocking off at a point our ears so that we can take that sense of hearing off of line, or like just mute down because you're going to still hear noises. And the reason why we're doing this is because we've been working on so much and just being aware, being present with our bodies during this particular type of meditation practice and letting it inform our daily reactions versus responses. If we were to continue on with more time, we would have a similar type setup, I guess, for lack of a better word. Our process would be similar. We would show up, we would sit, and we would do some movement. And then there's this point within moving from mindfulness into meditation where there's this process of letting your senses turn internal. And that can be really hard. So what we're doing here for the next couple of days is just playing with this, which maybe for the first time consciously, you're like, oh, I see what happens when I do X, Y, and Z with my senses. So that as we get towards the end of this time together, this journey, that you will understand what it means to take the senses and bring them a little bit more internally. So the reason why I'm bringing this up now is because obviously if I tell you to plug your ears at any point, you're not going to be able to hear the instructions. So we'll just go through it now, move our bodies a little bit, come to notice our breath, and then we'll play around with a different type of breath work with blocking our ears. So you have these little thin cartilage in the ear, not in the ear, but like that little flap on both ears. And so today we're going to use our thumbs and we're going to press in those flaps ever so slightly. We're not going to jam our fingers into our ears, and we're not even going to jam that little cartilage in. We're just going to use the thumbs to push it back a little bit, and it almost acts entirely like a seal. It's the almost perfect fit for that opening into the ear canals. So that when we do that, if you want to play around with that now, you already start to sense or to become aware that the volume of which you're hearing things, the clarity of which you're hearing things is inhibited because now we're using our thumbs to block off that sound. So the other 4 fingers can just come to rest at the top of your head. Okay? If that does not feel great to you, you don't love it, it's fine. Just put your hands over your ears. It won't block as much noise, but it'll still have the same effect of what we're trying to work on here today. And then the fingers on the top of the head can just rest, or if you'd like, you can even like rest them down with a little bit of weightedness and even move them a little bit further apart. So you're almost kind of doing like this mad scientist-y type thing on the top of your head. It's up to you how you choose to proceed. We'll be there for a couple of rounds of breath. If you find that having your elbows out in space like this starts to weigh on your shoulders, you can always find a piece of furniture or a chair and you can do it this way and then rest it down. Maybe that's where you choose to play when we get to that point, but there's another thing we can add on as well. So after we plug the ears, rest the other 4 fingers on top of the head, we can then hum. So as we inhale through the nose, as we exhale, we just hum. So maybe you can hear that, maybe you can't in these, but I'm humming, like we all know how to hum. Like you're humming your favorite song, but you're just gonna let the exhale be that hum. When you do that with the ears blocked off, what happens is it starts to make like a bumblebee noise, and in English it translates to the bumblebee breath, and it just alters a little bit what's going on in the brain, and it also makes it kind of challenging to think about really anything else while you're humming and it sounds like there's a bumblebee in your head. So maybe you want to try and play around with that. And that's how we're going to play with taking that sense of hearing off, and we're going to work with what's happening with the other senses. So as the ears are blocked off, you may notice it may be a little too intense to keep your eyes open. You may automatically feel like the eyes want to close and it just really wants to centralize all of that, everything that's going on just sort of in that head region. You may notice, and this is for all of you to explore and play with. Everyone's different, so I don't know what you're going to experience here. You may notice that you can see all around you and things are starting to look a little bit different, or that they start to jump a little bit because now you've got this sort of like buzzing going on in your head. Also, while you're doing that, it may be hard for you to notice any other senses like smell, taste, or feel. But with your hands resting on your head, you may start to feel something. You may just notice the fingertips as they rest on the head and notice if there's any sensations in the fingers. Maybe because again, we're bringing all of this awareness to the head, it may alter if you've got a scent already in your room. Fortunately, today, for me, I did have coffee made for me. So I do smell coffee right now, but I may not while I'm in the middle of this process. And then if you just ate, or if you've already started on your beverage of choice for the day, there may be remnants of that in your mouth as well from a taste. But notice as we just block one of them off, this time the sense of hearing, and we alter how much sound we let in. How does everything affect the body? And if you don't do it while your hands are over your ears, we will end with our hands down, just going through and assessing what we feel throughout the body after we've done all that work. Okay? All right. Good news is this is recorded, so if you want to try it more than once, you always have access to these instructions and you can go back and replay anything that you need. So let's today take our hands and just rest them on top of our head very, very gently. We're not cramming down our hands. We're just sort of resting them. One hand on the crown of the head, the other hand resting on top of the back of the other hand. And now see if you can notice, what does it feel like to sit just like this? Gentle rest of the hands on the crown of the head. Can you feel yourself maybe getting a little bit heavier down in the seated area in your root. So if you're lying down, maybe you feel as if the back of the body is getting a little bit longer and heavier on the floor. If you're seated in a chair or on the floor as I am, you may feel as if automatically your body starts to want to make this adjustment because it's giving the body this tangible alert that, here's the top of my head, the path of the spine, and it goes all the way down. So it starts to want to immediately open up, get a little bit more aligned, and then the respiratory can open. And then let's just twist in one direction very gently. I'm just noticing what that does here. And then let's come back to center. Let's switch which palm is on top. Again, just realigning ourselves, noticing what that does to our seat. And then we're going to twist over to the other side. Just loosening up the back. And then we'll come back to center. Let the hands rest down on the thighs. It could be palms down or palms up, depending on which one you... Actually, let's all do palms down right now. Because what we're going to do is we're going to add in a sway of the body. I'm swaying from left to right. You may choose to make this more of a circle to start. Speaking of things that, when we think about our hearing and our perception and our reality, this is a great exercise because you may be hearing things and it may make no sense to you right now coming to you from my end. And that's sort of the point of all this, right? Like, we use all of the senses in conjunction. And sometimes when one's offline, the rest of them pick up, but it doesn't always make sense. So we have to re-alter what we think to know to be true. I'll let you know that that's just Lily being crazy. She's making all the noise off screen, but, to you, it may not have made sense until the moment I told you that that's what it was. So we're going to slow this rocking from side to side and start to come back into a center place where if you feel any rocking, it's more from an internal space than an actual external expression of a sway left and right. And let's just take those few arriving breaths this morning, or whatever time of day it is for you. Inhale through the nose. Exhale, allow the lips to parse and just sigh it out. Inhale through the nose. Exhale, sigh it out. Notice what happens, as always, to the jaw, to the shoulders, to the upper chest. Take a moment or two here as we're arriving to become aware of where your breath is traveling. Notice if you can follow it all the way to the very end of the breath. It may be in the upper respiratory area. It could be in the low ribs, or maybe even the low belly. See if you can just keep with the exhale for a moment. So each time you exhale, just noticing where it ends. Notice if it feels like you're able to relax a little bit more with each exhale. Just feeling it move through the body. We're not trying to alter it in any way. We're just trying to become aware to let this breath inform us as to where we are in this moment. And then from here, begin to bring your awareness to the sounds happening in your space. Notice if you can allow the reach of this ability, of this one sense, to extend as far out as you possibly can imagine. So if you are next to a window that's at street level, maybe you hear the sounds outside. You hear sounds in the air. Perhaps you're joining from a more rural area and you hear wildlife and nature outside, but allow those sounds to just come into your consciousness. We're not going to hold on to them or try and identify them. We're just noticing what's the furthest sound you can hear. And then once you've reached as far out as you can you bring your awareness into the room of which you're joining and just notice all of the sounds that are happening in the room, again, without getting attached and trying to identify them. Just let the mind move from sound to sound, noticing that it's there. And then let your attention come to the sounds that are happening just outside of your own ears. That can include the sound of my voice coming to you through the device. For my friends like me who have tinnitus, it may actually be that humming noise, but we're going to divert our attention, so we're not going to pay too much attention to that. Just noticing that it's there. And then we're going to bring the hands up to block off that little flap of cartilage in the ear and rest the thumb or the rest of the fingers on top of the head. Once you've got settled, stay there for a breath or two, and then when you're ready, you can begin the process of humming. For my friends who want and need a little bit more instruction before we start, make it about 5 to 6 breaths before you let the hands rest back down. So onward and upwards on your own. Go ahead, get yourself set up. And then when you're ready, just let the hands rest down. And just bring your awareness into the body. Notice what it is that you're feeling, any sensations. Check in with the other senses. So notice how your fingers feel resting on your thighs with a sense of touch. Let the jaw move around. Let the tongue rest and move around in the mouth. Just notice if there's any taste. Notice if you smell anything new or anything with a little bit stronger scent at this point. And if the eyes close, let the eyes reopen. And then bring your awareness back to the sense of sound. And just notice how this exercise has impacted the sensations and the feels within your own body today. Another great fun exercise to do with kids too. So if you have any of those, you can invite them into this 19 minutes with you as well. And with that, we're done. 19 minutes in the books, guys and girls, and everyone else joining. I hope you have a terrific day. Obviously the little buzzing in my head still. And I will see you tomorrow for 20 minutes, day 20 of our mindfulness meditation journey. Have a great day.